Hi there, Serial Trader here. I'm going to do a video on gold and also nugget. So we'll start with the GC futures here, the gold futures. And this is the continuous futures contract. All right, so big picture, gold was in a major uptrend from that, we'll call it 99 to 2000 low. Then we had a big bull market in gold that ended in 2011. And now we've been in the process of correcting that major impulse wave to the upside. And that still needs to play out here longer term. And I'll get to what I mean by that. So from the very high in gold in 2011, you can count a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. I would consider that an A wave of what will be a larger corrective pattern. So we're looking for, at this point, a 5-3-5 zigzag to the downside, although it's certainly still developing. But since we had that A wave bottom here in 2015, 2016, that area, looks like towards the end of 15, beginning of 16, we had this impulsive wave up off the bottom. If you go in closer, it subdivides into 5 waves quite nicely. So I'm calling that the A wave. And then from that smaller degree A wave peak in July of 16 there, you had a very sideways market, and counts very well as a triangle. So you had an A down, B up, C down, D up. Recently finished an E down for a larger B wave. And now we're in the midst of that triangle thrust up in what I would consider to be a C wave of this larger B. And then once that is complete, expecting perhaps a 5-wave sequence down in this larger C wave to complete this overall pattern. So I guess short term and intermediate term looking higher in gold, but then longer term looking lower again, and then even longer term than that looking higher again to resume a true gold bull market. But doesn't look like we're there yet. So I'll just drag this out of the way just so it's not cluttering things up. So some upward targets here now that we do have a triangle that's completed and thrusting out. That gives us some fairly good reliable targets. So this is the triangle thrust measurement here. And that gets us, let's see here. That gets us up to around the high 1500s, 1570 or so. Now we also have the relationships between this A and this C off of the B wave termination point. So the 618 relationship gets us to 1472.5, and the equality relationship gets us to just about 1600, 1599.4. So those are some upward targets to look for in the next few months anyways, I would think, heading towards the later part of this year perhaps. But now we can kind of dial this in to the shorter time frame and see what's going on the 4-hour chart here. So starting from this this low over here, which is actually that E wave low of the B triangle on that big chart, I can count a decent 1 up, 2 down. Looks like we got a nice extended 3rd up, and we're in the midst of this triangle. So A, B, C, D, E is how I'm counting this. Wave 4, it might be just complete here or nearly so. But if this is a triangle, then the lows that we put in here at 1384, that should hold here. And then we should get the thrust out of this triangle and come up in this smaller degree 5th wave. So longer term, or I guess intermediate term, we have these higher levels, we'll say it high 1400s, low 1500s towards 1600. But shorter term here, just looking at this shorter term structure, a 5th wave up, so a reverse fib of this this largest portion of this correction. That will get us to 1465, so that's pretty close with that initial target on the big picture. And then the 2.0 gets us up to 1500, so should get a decent move up here short term in this 5th wave, at which point we may need to do a larger correction and then continue higher if we're going to. But this would certainly satisfy the minimum objectives for that longer term triangle thrust. So this should be a decent little trade up. And then after that, maybe step back to see how it plays out after that, knowing that we could form a more significant peak here once we're done thrusting out that triangle. And I'll just take this off because that's cluttering things up. So yeah, just on a short-term basis here, like for a trade setup, long against the 1384 low, target price anywhere from 1465 towards 1500. So that's what I'm looking at there, and that's gold. So now on Nugget. Now Nugget, it doesn't really. I'll show you what I mean. It doesn't really pay much to look at a longer term picture of Nugget because it's just one of these triple leveraged ETFs. So it just bleeds, and only on a short term basis does it really follow along with what it's supposed to. But that being said, it's certainly decent enough for a shorter term trading vehicle. So if we go on the 4-hour chart here of Nugget, 4-hour chart of Nugget, it looks like we're following a very similar pattern to what gold is doing there without labeling here. We got a 1, 2, 3 up. Looks like we did a 4. Now we're starting possibly to come up in that 5th. So a reverse fib of Nugget's 4th wave there gets us to just about 32 on Nugget towards as high as 35 and change, and that's defining risk against, we'll call it 24. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in Nugget, but it's certainly not as precise as looking at the actual gold futures or even an actual gold miner ETF without the leverage. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at gold. Certainly trading opportunities to be had here. All right, that's good for now. Serial Trader signing off.